Hello, adoptive families. How are you guys today? I hope you had a fantastic 4th of July. I know that with the restrictions of COVID, it was interesting to say the least for us, but proud to be an American and proud to be able to have free speech and come to you today. So today we're going to talk about adoption parenting. We're going to talk about when your child is a survivor. So I don't know about you, but I have several children that did not come to me straight from the hospital. And I would even say that children that came straight from the hospital into an adoptive family still were exposed to some traumatic decisions that their parents had to make, even in the most loving and caring biological mom situation, let alone one that the mom didn't have a healthy pregnancy, right? So regardless, I do believe that all adopted children are strong survivors and that is something that we can praise them over. But I want to talk to you today about these kids specifically that did not come straight at birth, that have real life experience that was traumatic. My name is Brooke Fremouw. I am an adoptive mom to 11 beautiful children, and I help other adoptive families calm the chaos in their hearts and homes and exchange that for peace. So if that's something that you need, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you, give you a 45-minute free strategy call in which we can kind of go through what it looks like in your house and put a plan together to help have the peace and calm in your home. All right, so if your child had a traumatic experience in their life post-birth, then you know that your child had no choice but to process some pretty crazy things around them, right? It could have been neglect, could have been abuse, could have been some abandonment type issues, right? But regardless, your child's fundamental safety was an issue of concern. And whether you are a child, an animal, or an adult, if you feel your safety come into question, God has put in us the ability to adapt, the ability to change our body chemicals and to survive. Sometimes that looks like fight, sometimes it looks like flight, sometimes it looks like a combination of those things, and sometimes with repeated exposures to unsafe environments, it looks like complete changes to our biology. So what happens is we get these kids into our home and we start to regulate their environment for them. We start to regulate interactions with them so that they have a sense of predictability that they lacked before. But our children aren't always able to let go of their adaptations and transition into the adoptive family with peace and harmony, right? So what I tend to teach is that a lot of kids have behaviors that are correct. They have feelings, thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors that are absolutely correct, valid, and come for all of the right reasons. Would you agree with me on that, mamas? I think most of you would. When you see your child escalating their tantrum, escalating a tantrum worked for them back then. It was the only way they could be seen. It was the only way that they could be heard. Or how about a child getting physical, right? If they saw that the power came with physical abuse, then they may try to claim their power through physical attacks. Is that correct? Yes, it is. Because it's what they learned, it's what they were taught, it's what they observed to be effective. And at the end of the day, your child wants to be effective. Your child wants to get their needs met, and they are right to want that. Now here's the problem. Is it helpful to be attacked? Is it helpful to have tantrums escalating instead of de-escalating? Sure isn't. It's not an ounce of helpfulness, right? And is it healthy? If they keep those skills when they are 16 years old and they get their first job at McDonald's and they need to have their needs met or need to express themselves and they punch their boss in the face, you and I both know that ends with a police phone call, right? It's not healthy. That's not the way that we go about getting our needs met. And yet it's what they know, it's what worked, and it's what's continuing to work in your home. So what do we do about it? there's a couple things we do. This is a primary focus of what I work on with my clients. We work on training their body to stay more logical. I know that sounds like a really weird thing, but actually there's a lot of science around the fact that when you've got trauma, when you've got stress, when you've got really big feelings, that we need to be able to keep our bodies regulated so that we can stay in the front of our brain. That's where all of our logic is, right? And a lot of our kids lose logic. Would you agree? Right. They go from 0 to off the charts. There's not an ounce of logic left. And honestly, you don't recognize your child. That has to change. We change that. We work on expanding their threshold of tolerance to where they're able to stay more up here. And then once they're able to stay more up here, then we give them new skills that actually prove to be more helpful and more healthy. So here's the thing, you can't take a child that's already dysregulated, a child that's already off the charts, and then get them to use those tools. It will never work because you're asking them to do something that's physically not within their realm or ability, right? So that being the case, we've got to give them the physical ability and then show them that they're going to get better results by choosing a different method, right? That their old methods worked well. We validate that. They're all the right reasons that they're there and that they did work and that they're smart and strong and capable and that we recognize that in them. However, the same way that a sippy cup is what a 2-year-old needs, they transition into a cup and eventually they transition into a glass. And then from a glass, they might even transition into something more fragile like crystal. Right? We grow, we adapt, and we take it to the next level as we can handle those responsibilities. We need to show our kids that they are capable of more and that they get more when they choose a healthy and helpful approach. So remember those 2 H's, helpful and healthy. Those are the things that we ask our kids. Is what you're doing helpful to you? Is what you're doing healthy for you? Does it get you what you want? And if the answer to that is no, then we have to replace it with something that will. My name is Brooke Fremouw. If you'd like to talk more about what it is that I do, how we get people to be able to regulate themselves and children ready to regulate themselves, and how we take a look at behaviors not as the problem, but as a symptom to what it is that they're experiencing. Right? And then we adapt accordingly. We give them the tools to expand the ways in which they behave and communicate so that their needs can be met in helpful and healthy ways. Thank you so much for your time. I hope and pray that this touched you, that this helped you. I'd love to hear how this impacts you and what this brings to mind for you and your family. I strongly look forward to connecting with you, and I will post my Calendly link below so that it's as simple as clicking that link, picking a time slot that works for both of us, and scheduling a Zoom call. You fill out the survey, it comes directly to my calendar, and then we can talk and get to know you, get to know your children, and see what we can do to give you a more healthy and helpful communication in your home. God bless.